Oh good, it is this game a third time. It's like the game even knows that it's kind of annoying with the way they name this minigame. So yes, it's the same minigame, except it's a little bit harder now. The boat fills up faster, and stuff will shoot out of the hole in the boat in different intervals. It'll throw like one really high up and one really low, almost straight at your head. But that's about it. Again, we're skipping it just like the last time. So this is the final minigame of the game already. This one, along with the piggy bank one, where you're like weighing all the items in your bag to swap them, these are the two hardest minigames I think in the game. This one is particularly hard because of the controls. To pedal, you have to alternate between X and triangle, which, you know, are the bottom and top face buttons. And it's kind of difficult to alternate between those two buttons in particular. You kind of have to hold your hands sideways and have one finger on each one. But this lady will alternate between firing the cannons and trying to crush you with the wrecking ball. The wrecking ball is pretty easy to avoid. It's the cannons that can mess you up. Because there are 5 of them, and you have to really pay attention to which cannons are firing. You can partially tell by like the shadow of the cannonballs flying ahead of you. But yeah, see, I got hit by one blast and I was done for. Because you have to mash that button, those 2 buttons like crazy if you want to keep going. So you never want to get hit by 2 explosions in a row because you're finished. There's like no way to pedal fast enough to get out of 2 explosions in a row. You can see I died several times to this. 3 times. And it's a long minigame too. Kind of wears you down. But throughout the minigame, the pattern the cannons fire changes. Eventually it'll start firing all 5 cannons at once. And you have to pay attention to which cannon fires first and last, basically, to figure out where you need to be sitting. To avoid the volleys, because, you know, these explosions don't go off right away. It is fire, and several seconds later, the cannons will land right in front of you. And you can't really see where they're going. You just kind of have to guess a little. Oh yeah, but I like this minigame, though. Even though it's hard. So that's it. It still ranks you and gives you lives and all that for doing these, even though you're kind of done with the game, because you can replay any of the mini-games individually. I'm not sure why you would want to do that, but... And that's it. It's a pretty small game. I don't know what price this retailed for when it first came out, but it would have kind of sucked to buy this for $50, I think is how much PlayStation 1 games went for, maybe? It would have sucked to buy this game for $50, is what I'm saying. I bought it for $10, and that was worth it, I think. So, I didn't mention it in the last update, but there is one other minigame that is missing from the English release. And that is a karaoke minigame. Probably a fair amount of people in the comments last video had already guessed that there is a game missing, because there's a cutscene where those girls invite Ririka into, the little karaoke place, and then you immediately leave. Karaoke minigame did not make it, of course, because I guess they didn't want to have to translate lyrics, and, it was voice acted as well. And there is, no English voice acting in this game, so... And I believe, actually, that the karaoke minigame is used twice. Once, earlier in Ririka's chapter, and also right at the end of the game. Why is that happening? I don't know. So this game, I don't think this game is, the greatest. Mostly because it doesn't have enough mini-games, and it also repeats that damn Titanic away minigame 3 times. But this game does have a style that I really like and kind of miss from video games now. Because when I was first exposed to this game, like I said at the beginning of this LP, half a year ago or more, that I was first exposed to this on a demo disc that came in PlayStation Underground, I think it was called. Or just maybe PlayStation Magazine, I can't remember which. But that same demo disc, I believe, was also the same one that had the demo for Parappa the Rappa on it. And both of those games are the very first thing I think of when I think of the PlayStation 1, because they just had lots of weird Japanese games on them that were all pretty unique in style. And even if they weren't the greatest games, they were still kind of memorable for how strange they were. And you don't see that type of game as often anymore. There is one PlayStation 3 PSN game that is not on the American or European store. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a racing game, except you're using office chairs. You're on an office chair, drifting around a town. It didn't look great, but its style reminded me a lot of this kind of game. And then the sequel never happened!